Paulie noticed that March 24th, 2005, The Office debuted. And he sent me a text last night. He said, hey, see if Brian Baumgartner, who played Kevin from The Office, can join us. And I sent a text, and Brian got back to me right away. And thanks for joining us, Brian.
Oh, I'm definitely in my sweatpants, Dan.
What do you?
They're so comfy.
What are you watching at home?
What am I watching at home? I just watched that dumb shit. Someone said, "Oh, this is the thing to watch while you're quarantined." Tiger King.
Yeah. Yes. I started.
Oh, God.
I couldn't get through it. I just couldn't do it. I said I'm not this desperate for entertainment, and I watched about 30 minutes and I went, nope, I cannot do it.
Very, very good call by you, Dan. Very good call by you. But you know what people are watching, I think, is The Office.
Of course. How many times do you, because it's played all the time on Comedy Central, when's the last time you said, I'll watch an episode?
I watched them all, and I often do not watch myself. I watched them all when they aired. I don't know if you know this. The first couple of years, we all watched them together. We would go to each other's houses and watch the episodes because we were so excited about the show. And then when it really took off, we got too big. We were often filming when the show was actually airing on television. But I watched every episode as it went through, and then I would kind of catch a scene or an episode here or there. About 9 months ago, I went back from episode 1. I watched the whole thing all the way through, and I was just so delighted. I loved it. It really holds up.
What's your favorite episode?
Wow. I mean, I think for me, there's a lot of other things tied into it. I think for pure comedy, it is very difficult to argue against The Injury, where Michael burns his foot on a George Foreman grill. Pure comedy. I think that one is hard to beat. I'm very fond, but I think part of it is also like, there are other outside factors that are in. There was a 2-part episode called Stress Relief, which, if you just watched it on Netflix, you didn't know this, but that episode aired after the Super Bowl. And that was a real special one. That one is where Dwight does the fake fire drill. He lights the fire and everybody goes crazy. And Stanley has a heart attack and we do CPR on people, which I don't know if you heard that. That saved someone's life. Did you ever hear that story?
No.
Someone in Arizona driving along the highway. I'm kind of making up some of the details, but basically pulls over. Someone's having a heart attack on the side of the road.
And Michael's singing a song.
Michael's singing a song. No. I'm talking about in real life. In real life, this guy in Arizona comes across someone having a heart attack on the side of the road, and he doesn't know CPR, but he watched The Office. And so he did the staying alive. And the guy stayed alive. The ambulance came, and The Office saved at least one person's life. Yes.
We're talking to Brian Baumgartner, who played Kevin from The Office. How did you get your voice on The Office?
It kind of developed, I would say. When it started out, my character of Kevin was sort of modeled after the character of Keith on the British version of the show. And so the character sort of started there. But the writers and Greg Daniels, our genius showrunner, wanted the cast to be larger, wanted more voices in there. And so as the writers started writing for me and began to find his certain sensibility, I don't know.
But the actual voice that you use, you dumb yourself down. But is that your idea?
Well, yeah, I'm a trained actor, Dan.
Of course, my bad.
My bad. But people do get surprised when they hear my voice for the first time.
I was when I ran into, I think, at the Dallas Super Bowl. I was like, "Hey, how are you, Brian?" And then when you spoke, and I went, "Oh, wait a minute."
You expected me to be like, "Hi, Dan. How are you?" I'm a big fan. Right?
How often does that happen when they see you? Hey, nice to meet you. Do the Kevin voice.
Oh, a lot. And the other thing is like, it's the Goodfellas, the Joe Pesci thing. Like, what am I, your clown? People will come up and be like, "Oh, just say this for me. Say Kool-Aid Man." No, I'm not going to say Kool-Aid Man right now. Do the Kool-Aid Man face.
Was Steve Carell the first choice?
Steve Carell became the first choice. It was. It basically got down to, as I understand it, Steve Carell and very, very, very brilliant actor who's done incredibly well for himself, Bob Odenkirk.
Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Yes. He would have been a slightly, probably a slightly smarter version, right? Like Bob sort of has that, like, I get things. Whereas Michael Scott with Steve Carell, a little more naivete, right? Like a little, not quite as with it.
There are just so many of those. When you put your feet in the ice machine, the wedding episode, we've had you on to talk about the chili episode, the basketball show. Did those guys know you could play basketball?
No, the basketball that was I mean, it was the first season, but that's probably my most proudest accomplishment. I sent messages at the time to like my old high school buddies who ended up becoming athletes or whatever. Like, hey, have you made 13 in a row from free throw distance on national television? No, I'm not sure many have really. I mean, anyone. I think I'm up there with Jordan.
That's pretty good. Was there a script where you went, this could be disaster?
The chili.
Really? I would have thought Diversity Day, because that was like that was second episode, wasn't it?
Truthfully, on Diversity Day, when we were filming Diversity Day, and we were all still getting to know. It was the first episode. We had shot one episode. We shot the pilot, and then we went away for essentially 6, 7, 8 months. We got picked up. We came back, and Diversity Day was the next script. And as we were filming, I swear to you, I said, I don't know if people are going to give this show a chance, but if they do, man, what we are doing is something pretty freaking special. Because the way that we were talking about, a serious, obviously, topic in America, race in America, it just wasn't done on television. Really, you could say, going back to like All in the Family with Archie Bunker, like addressing race in a comedic but serious way. I was just so tremendously proud of that episode. Some people say, we did 200 and whatever episode, 200 and whatever half hours of television, and our second episode, it was early and characters were still finding themselves, but it could have been our best one.
Yeah. And don't take this the wrong way. I hope there is no reunion. Like I like when I don't like sequels to movies. This was so iconic. This was spectacular. And I don't need to do a reboot here.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, truly, like, if there was any information, I probably wouldn't tell you right now.
You might text it to me, but you wouldn't tell me.
I might text it to you, but I'll tell you, I think why it keeps coming up is by basically any metric that you can calculate, it is the most watched show in television right now, and we haven't filmed a single scene in 6 years.
Wow.
I don't know if you saw this statistic on March 15th. Now, we're going through a tough time in this country, but on Saturday, March 15th, 249 million minutes were watched of The Office. I mean, it's you can't even. I think the last year that they released was 2018. 52 billion minutes watched. I mean, by any metric you can calculate, it is more popular than ever. I mean, I have 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. coming up to me and I'm like, you weren't born. You weren't born when I was, had Italian on my forehead and acted like an idiot in Diversity Day. Like, you were literally not born. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And what's like Friends? Friends has a new life in a new generation following that show as well.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that the crazy thing for me is I think we all, like, I remember when it was starting and we were saying, like, oh, there's, I don't know, however many million people who work in an office in America, right? So this has got to appeal to some people, like, and now it's so not that. It's so much the younger people that I think at the time we started making it was not even a considerate. Like, we weren't thinking about that because, by the way, like, spoiler alert, a lot of the people in the cast, maybe all of them, didn't look like TV stars, right? Like, think about Friends. Think about Friends.
That's true.
And then think about us.
That is true.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was like, someone told me, at that time, if you were not very young and very attractive, it was difficult to get on a comedy on television. And, it's what has happened to it is crazy, and it's really fun. And I think ultimately it holds up, and I'm proud of it. So that makes it okay.
Well, thanks for joining us, and congrats on all the success with that. The Office debuted March 24th, 2005. Brian Baumgartner, who played Kevin from The Office. Good to talk to you again, Brian.
Dan, always my pleasure. Stay safe, my friend.
All righty.